The holographic star map flickered as 17 alien species watched the feed in stunned silence. Emperor Kael Veyron, ruler of the Galactic Dominion, sovereign of 43 star systems, leaned forward in his obsidian throne and whispered one word. Impossible. 3 hours earlier, the Vreth Armada had been the most feared military force in the known galaxy. 800 warships, crystalline hulls shimmering with harvested star energy, had dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler Passage, humanity's only supply corridor, and therefore humanity's jugular vein. Grand Commander Zethek of the Vreth had transmitted a single message before opening fire. Surrender the corridor. You have no fleet here. We checked your records. He was right. He had checked. The Galactic Dominion maintained meticulous databases on every spacefaring civilization, fleet counts, weapons classifications, combat doctrines, psychological profiles. Humanity's file was distressingly thin. 47 registered warships. 3 space stations. 1 partially operational battle platform they'd been building for 11 years. The Kepler Passage had no registered defenders. What the Dominion's sensors detected instead, as the Vreth Armada powered weapons, was a single human vessel, a battered civilian freighter named the Graceless Conviction, floating directly in the firing lane. Zethek had almost laughed. Then the freighter's hull split open. Admiral Ethan Cross watched the Vreth formation from the bridge of his flagship, hands clasped behind his back, expression utterly calm. Around him, 41 officers moved with quiet efficiency. Nobody spoke unless they had something worth saying. "Admiral, they're targeting us," said Lieutenant Commander Yael Orozco, not looking up from her console. "They were always going to," Cross replied. "It's us or the corridor." Orozco, confirm the net is live. Net is live, sir. All nodes are reporting green. Cross nodded once. Then let's begin. The Graceless Conviction wasn't a freighter. It never had been. The hull was a shell, specifically designed to look like an aging cargo hauler on every electromagnetic, gravitational, and thermal scan the Dominion had ever developed. Inside, 12 torpedo banks, experimental electromagnetic rail projectors, and a command suite capable of managing an entire theater of operations. But the ship wasn't alone. Humanity had built its secret fleet in silence. Not because they were hiding from their enemies, but because they'd read the Dominion's intelligence doctrine carefully and discovered something useful. The Dominion tracked warships, military vessels, registered combatants with classified hull designations and power signatures consistent with weapons platforms. They did not track fishing trawlers, mining barges, long-haul freighters, or processors, survey vessels. For 6 years, humanity had been converting them. Node 7, fire on my mark, Cross said. 312 converted civilian vessels, scattered across 100,000 kilometers of space, hiding in asteroid fields, drifting behind moons, dark and cold and invisible, came alive simultaneously. The first volley alone consumed 40 Vreth warships. In the Dominion throne room, Emperor Kael Veyron watched the tactical feed with his senior military council. None of them spoke for a long time. Grand Fleet Admiral Thessera, a Dominion Myra whose species had been fighting wars for 9,000 years, finally broke the silence. "That's not in the records," she said. "Clearly," Veyron said. "Their registered fleet is 47 vessels. We are looking at," she paused to let the counting algorithm finish, 314 combat-capable vessels. None of which appear in any registry. None of which match any known weapons classification. "They built a shadow fleet," said Intelligence Director Kehen, a Preth with 3 brains and a reputation for never being surprised. He sounded very surprised. "Using civilian hull configurations. Modified to evade our scanning protocols." "How long would that take?" Veyron asked. Kahen's middle brain processed the question. "For any species in our records?" Minimum 40 years. Possibly a century, depending on industrial capacity. Humans have been spacefaring for 31 years, Thessera said quietly. The room absorbed that. On the holographic display, the Vreth Armada, once 800 ships strong, was being systematically disassembled. The human vessels didn't fight like any doctrine Thessera recognized. They didn't form lines. They didn't hold positions. They moved in constantly shifting geometric patterns, feeding targeting data between nodes, collapsing on isolated Vreth clusters before dispersing again. The Vreth couldn't track them. Their formation kept reacting to a battle that had already moved somewhere else. What is that tactical doctrine? Thessera demanded of her staff. Her aide checked every database. It doesn't exist, Admiral. It's not in any record. It has no name. Of course it doesn't, Veyron said, almost to himself. He leaned back in his throne and studied the human commanding that chaos. The feed had managed to capture a brief transmission intercept, a brief visual of the human admiral, standing relaxed on his bridge while 300 ships executed a synchronized flanking maneuver that had just eliminated another 60 Vreth vessels. The man looked bored. Who is that? Veyron asked. Admiral Ethan Cross, Cahen said, pulling the file. It was thin. Embarrassingly thin. Former Earth maritime officer. Transferred to the new Human Unified Space Command 12 years ago. No combat record, there's been nothing for him to fight. Developed several theoretical doctrines that our analysts reviewed and assessed as impractical due to coordination complexity. They seem quite practical, Thessera said flatly. Yes, Cahen agreed. In hindsight. The Battle of Kepler Passage lasted 4 hours and 11 minutes. The Vreth Armada ceased to exist as a fighting force in 3 hours and 54 minutes. The remaining 17 minutes were spent by Admiral Cross directing recovery operations for Vreth escape pods, because he had issued standing orders that no sentient combatant was to be left to die in vacuum if retrieval was feasible. When Zethek was pulled aboard and brought before Cross, he expected interrogation. Threats. Gloating. The human admiral handed him a cup of something warm and sat across from him at a plain metal table. You checked our records, Cross said. It wasn't an accusation. Just an observation. We did, Zethek said carefully. We know you did. We were counting on it. Cross wrapped his hands around his own cup. We're not in your records because we made certain choices, early on, about how to develop our military. We knew the Dominion's intelligence apparatus would find us eventually. We knew they'd share that data with anyone who paid for it. So we gave you exactly what we wanted you to see. The 47 ships, Zethek said slowly. Registered. Documented. Deliberately obvious. Cross almost smiled. You never checked the freighters. Nobody checks freighters. Exactly. The diplomatic transmission from Emperor Kale Veyron arrived at Human Unified Space Command 48 hours later. It was the first time a sitting Dominion Emperor had ever personally contacted a species with less than a century of spaceflight. Cross received it in his day cabin, still in his uniform, a half-eaten meal on the desk beside him. Veyron appeared on the screen, tall, silver-scaled, wearing ceremonial armor that cost more than most human space stations. He studied Cross for a long moment before speaking. Admiral, the Emperor said. I would like to understand your people better. With respect, Your Majesty, Cross replied, that's what we were hoping you'd say. Your Shadow Fleet, you built it in 6 years. Closer to 5.5. Our analysts say that's impossible. Your analysts, Cross said carefully, have never met a species that spent 10,000 years building ships on an ocean before they ever reached space. We've been solving the problem of hidden capacity for a very long time. We just moved the ocean. Veyron was quiet for a moment. The Vreth will want reparations. There will be political complications. We're aware. You will need allies in the Dominion Council. Also aware. I wonder, the Emperor said slowly, whether humanity would be interested in a formal relationship with the Dominion. Something more mutual than what typically exists between an established empire and a young species. Cross looked at him steadily. Depends on the terms, he said. We don't do tributary arrangements. We don't do protectorates. We're happy to be partners. We're very good at being partners. And if I said the terms were equal footing? I'd say we'd like that in writing, Cross said, and that our legal team will have notes. For the first time in the transmission, Emperor Kale Veyron, sovereign of 43 star systems, ruler of the most powerful empire in the known galaxy, smiled. I was told humans were unexpected, he said. Always, Cross agreed. It's our best quality. In the Dominion database, a new file was created that day. It was longer than most. It would keep getting longer. At the top, a single notation from Intelligence Director Kahen himself. Do not assume the records are complete. For this species, they never will be.